Hi, my name is Bailey Anne Vincent, and I am a mother of two, a dancer, a choreographer, a boss, and a survivor. I grew up in South Florida. I'm the youngest of 5 children. And thus far, everyone in my family, for the most part, has been pretty healthy. So I think when I started showing signs and symptoms of getting repeat respiratory infections, we didn't really think much of it. And it really took until I was a teenager. As a ballerina, I was getting pneumonia multiple times a year, way more sick than I should have been for that age. And that's when we very slowly started to kind of look into what might be awry. We believe that I lost my hearing either due to frequent sinus infections, perhaps due to medication. The thought is likely due to infection.
So when Bailey was born, our oldest child was 21. So she was obviously adored and spoiled and a lovely little kind person. So I think she was always losing her hearing. But since she was homeschooled and it was one-on-one, and there were so many other kids and activities and people in the house that we never really noticed. We just thought she was Bailey.
I was able to ignore my health because I was so focused on dance and being a teenager until I got pregnant at a fairly young age. I was a young mom, and both pregnancies took an understandable toll on my body, and that's when I really couldn't be the ostrich with my head in the sand anymore, and I had to start going to doctors and figuring out what is up. And once I was in my late teens, I really was able to kind of own the label, really immerse myself in deaf culture and really advocate for myself. And of course, now I'm so, super proud to be a part of the deaf community. So at the moment, my diagnosis is cystic fibrosis related disorder, which, though don't have my PhD, as far as I know, it essentially means, I go to a CF clinic, I take the CF drugs, I grow the CF bugs in my lungs. All of my organs that have mucus have been impacted or had surgery in one way or another.
I don't even know if asked about the number of surgeries she's had that I have a good answer anymore. We've been married for around 5 years now, and it feels like the marriage began with surgeries. So it's over 10, less than 50. She has to be one of the strongest people that I've ever met. Simply on that, simply on being able to put a face on over top of everything that is always going on physically and then psychologically because of the physicality.
In 2015, I actually was in the ICU for like 2 weeks, maybe longer, due to an unknown at the time genetic heart condition called Brugada. And the #1 symptom of Brugada is literally dropping dead. So it was a complete miracle that we figured out on a rogue EKG that I had Brugada, and we were able to get me stable after some fighting in the ICU. And a year ago, my dad ended up, after a lifetime of wonderful health, having congestive heart failure. And he ended up in the exact same ICU that I was in, with some of the exact same nurses who I loved, and completely fighting for his life. I encouraged them to consider moving to this beautiful lake with me so my dad could be happy by the water. And so they did. So we currently live in a house that's split into 2 totally different houses. So we have our own space, though it doesn't stop my parents from walking into my house all the time.
By helping take care of the kids so that she doesn't have to worry about who's watching them and what they're doing, is got to be 90% a load off her mind.
And then we cover because Bailey will go down to her dance company where she's the artistic director, Company 360, and help take care of the girls so that she can focus on that and the program that they're developing down there, as well as the various major things on Company 360's calendar.
I founded Company 360, which is a professional contemporary ballet company outside of DC, in part because I had spent time as a dancer in other companies, and I just kept tallying all the things that I wish that I could have done differently, whether creating a really encouraging, safe space for dancers, having an open door policy where a dancer can talk to a director about a problem and leave it outside of the studio but not be stigmatized for having been open and vulnerable. And most of all, you spend so much time as a dancer feeling negative about your body. And for me, though I might have the more prototypical ballerina body type, half of my body is robot parts and scars, and it doesn't work the way I want it to, and I cough all the time. So I wanted to create a safe space with equivalently talented dancers who weren't being judged for the skeleton that they were born with.
You know, when Bailey was working with Michelle Weil and Ballet Next on the dance Fallen, named after her youngest daughter, to make a dance choreography meaningful for people that are hearing impaired for the first time, where you would use sign language within the dance and the choreography and the movement. We took Fallen and took her up, you know, for the premiere. We took her up to New York on the train. So we took her up to New York for the premiere so that she could see her mother dance and she could see the results of her mother's creative talent.
Mommy's dancing is wonderful.
Mommy's dancing is cool.
So an upside of being deaf in the dance world is that dance is a physical and visual language. So it's much like American Sign Language, except in a grander form using your entire body. So sometimes it feels like it evens the playing field. Like it's the one time where I'm not worried about reading someone's lip when it's sort of dim, or reading the lips of someone with a beard or someone with a weird accent. Instead, we're all able to communicate on the same level because we're all kind of communicating in the same way. So Catching Breaths is a brand new charity that we are just launching, which is going to be focused on matching chronic patients who are stuck in the hospital with volunteer artists. And a lot of the reason for that is I've spent a lot of time in the hospital just wishing I had something to do. And for me, dance is this ginormous motivator that when I have some really horrible surgery, I'm really focused on getting back into the dance studio. That's my passion. And so the hope is to connect chronic patients with their passion that they might not have been matched up with yet. The chronically ill community can be a really powerful place because people can connect online even if they're completely alone in the hospital. I think that finding your personal passion, whether it be work or an art form or a hobby or anything like that, is critical when you're a chronic patient or just in life, like facing down any sort of problem. Having that sort of obsessive drive to do something that feels good and ultimately dance when I'm in the moment and when it's at its best, it completely frees me from the somatic. And I think finding anything that completely frees you from what's holding you back is super important in life.
She has incredible courage that she can fight through anything and come out on the other side the better person for it, and never complain, never say one thing like, why did this happen to me? Why am I deaf? Why do I have cystic fibrosis? Why do I have all these stomach problems? Why me? Not one time has she ever said that.
I would say that the interesting thing about deaf culture is that it's probably the only loss, hearing loss, where it actually becomes your gain. So instead of it just being this tragic thing where I'm a ballerina who lost her hearing slowly, I've gained a language, a community, a culture that I wasn't otherwise born with, and there's something really beautiful about that. Next on Barely Breathing Ballerina, I'm having another surgery. So it's going to be an open stomach surgery with 2 surgeons. I'm the most nervous because there's a lot of variables and it's kind of hard to know what's going to happen when you wake up. I had hoped to have a sort of pre-surgery celebration and hang out on the lake with some of my dancers and friends. And in a way, it's almost like a going away party.